everybody on the top camera, that's the Instagram camera. Welcome to Live from My Mother's Basement, and I hope we're rolling down here on Facebook. Facebook Live. Uh-oh, what happened? There's always weird shit happening in my house, I swear to God. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it don't. Welcome to another edition of Live from My Mother's Basement. We got a great show for you tonight, everybody. If you could start writing to me, let me know that you can hear me, let me know that you could see me, and we're going to talk about what's going on in the world today and who this handsome, nicely dressed gentleman is sitting next to me. His name is Fred Salas. Thank you so much for coming down to the basement here in my apartment in North Hollywood, California. How you doing, Fred?
I'm healthy and happy. How you doing, man?
He's healthy and happy and looking sharp. He's always been a sharp dresser, this guy. We're going to get into his life. We're going to talk all about who he is and what he does. But when he showed up this afternoon, I'm saying to myself, oh no, I'm underdressed. I'm underdressed for my own show. But you've always been a snappy dresser.
That's part of the standard protocol with what I do. So
yeah, well, we're going to get into what he does and how I met Fred, which was our passion that we were doing back in the day. And you really helped me out in my career at that time and helped me go even further. We're going to talk about all of that and what's going on in his life next week. What we're all going to be doing some really, really big golf tournament, and how we can get in touch with Fred while we're here in California. We also have some really cool Italian appetizers that we're going to eat on the show.
Yeah.
So Fred, let's start off with because we all also on the radio. How did we meet, if you remember?
There was a producer in Hollywood that called me, and they were interested. It was right after 9/11, well, 3 years after 9/11, and I had this producer call me, and she knew that I was going to be doing the ringside, the blow-by-blow, the play-by-play announcing for what was the LA Police Department, the LA County Sheriffs, and they were going to do a charitable boxing event at the Olympic Auditorium in downtown LA against all the New York firefighters and New York police officers that were flying to LA. So I was on the call, and she asked me if I could use another voice.
Now I actually remember this producer. Her name was Bonnie Forbes, and she produced TV movies and movies. And I really, how did that even begin? Because I had been doing fundraisers for 9/11 at the police department, both for sheriff and both for LAPD. But I don't know how it went hand in hand that I ended up meeting you.
Well, she told me about you.
Right.
And then I actually saw you on a Frasier episode, and I said, that's the guy. And here's the thing. You came and you sat ringside with me, and I believe the analyst we had for those fights was Jeff Tolcher. And you sat there, and I was expecting the boom, boom, boom. But you kind of sat there with not a whole lot to say.
Oh, you mean when we first did the ringside?
When we went live on TV, you kind of sat there, and I kept nudging you. You can chime in. You can chime in because the camera's on the fighters. But for whatever reason, maybe when you heard me through your headset, you were going, okay.
Oh,
but had you shown up with the Mike Marino, New Jersey's bad boy, it would have been a spectacular show.
All right.
As it was just kind of you were a bit melancholy.
Yeah. Wow. I think now I'm going to go all the way back now. I'm going to remind everybody. If anybody's out there watching me here on Facebook, could you write in? Because I don't see anybody writing in right now. Facebook changed its format. It looks a little bit different right now. I can see everybody writing in on Instagram, but if you could write in on Facebook right now so I could see what you're saying, that would be really, really great. What Fred's talking about is he's a professional ringside announcer.
Well,
box calling.
You would just call play-by-play announcer.
For on this particular project, he was calling play-by-play. So I was asked to go down there, and I think, weren't you making a pilot?
No, it wasn't a pilot. The thought process was we could do something with this show.
But I do remember this because they expected me to be able to do what he was adverse at doing. And I can't.
Oh, thanks.
They're like, he throws a right hook. Oh, he's there with the jab. He's hitting him. He's down. I'm like, oh, I don't know none of this shit, man. And I remember you being so good at it, and I was sitting there just tongue-tied.
Right.
So I really didn't know what to do until the fights were over, and then I would interview a fighter.
Right. So those interviews went well.
Well, that particular part went well, but I was really kind of like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was watching him, and again, he's all coiffed up, looking good. He's got his headphone on and his microphone, and he's calling the fight faster than anything I've ever seen. And I'm like, how does he even know this stuff? But you had notes. I mean, I remember when you were calling this one fight, you knew this guy's college education. I'm like, how did he know that? Oh, when he went down. So
Called preparation.
yeah, well, I'm sure you
that
were
was 17
prepared.
years ago. You think about
Holy
that. That was in
shit.
2004.
I was
Yeah.
thinner and I had more hair.
Oh, well, you're still looking good,
Oh,
buddy.
shit.
Still looking good.
Yeah, I remember that. And then, of course, we were with the big shots. Chief of police at that time was
Leo Baca.
right.
Yeah. And he's actually, unfortunately, confined right now for something to do with the FBI not being honest, not telling the truth.
Is that right?
Yeah. And there's so many people getting away with it. Here's a guy that his whole career was about doing what was right for LA County as a LA County sheriff and doing what was good, helping a lot of people involved in charities. And he's not a free man right now. So we
Where
hope
is
that that changes. I don't know.
Like he's in jail?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Wow. Well, there's a change of events. Talk
We
about
had
going down a different street.
Well, we had a nice picture with him, and you remember Pete
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Pete Koch is the Mad Swede. He's also on 3 TV commercials right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and he was a former chief and Raider, defensive tackle. He was with the LA Raiders
Wow.
back in the day.
That is.
And I met him the same year I met you at a golf tournament, and he was telling me about health and fitness. And when everybody was in the clubhouse chowing down on the banquet dinner, I was in the parking lot. He had me doing push-ups.
Oh, no kid.
Yeah, true story. True
Yeah, well,
story.
you always were in great shape.
I don't know about that.
I remember
but,
Leroy Baca, and I remember Chief Bratton.
Yeah.
And Bratton, if you don't know, is from Boston. He had a very thick accent. And I remember he had an inaugural roast when he first became the chief of police. I was the guy who roasted him.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of knew all these guys before I did that show with you. And what was also cool is the police departments fought other police departments to raise money for the City of Hope. Was it
Yes.
City of Hope,
Yes.
which is cancer.
Yes.
And you always wonder when you watch this type of thing, how serious are these guys going to take it? Because LAPD fought NYPD, and I believe firemen, firewomen, EMT. Were there EMTs?
I believe so.
Yeah,
There
and
was a smorgasbord of athletes in the ring that night.
no, but that wasn't the only time we did it. That was the first time I
Yeah.
did it, and then there was another time we did it. Was outdoors with Fraser Smith.
That's right.
Who's a
At the Sheriff's Academy.
he's a popular radio show personality, and again, go ahead, you could tell him.
I forgot all
You
about
could tell
that
him.
show.
We had to wear Hawaiian shirts for whatever reason.
Yeah, and that was
Was
at
that
the,
your idea?
No, no way.
You know?
That was the Sheriff's Academy in Whittier, California. We did that show, and Fraser Smith. I had been a fan when he was on 95.5 KLOS.
Yes, that's
He was a
Fraser.
great DJ growing up, and I wasn't starstruck, but it was nice to see him and appreciate him for who he was and the work that he did.
I hope he's watching the show right now. Fraser Smith, we're still good friends. We've been performing together, stand-up comedy for over 25 years. He's a very famous radio personality here in Los Angeles, KTLA back in, I believe, the 80s.
Yeah, even before
80s.
that, I believe.
Oh, all right, 70s. And so we go down there to call this fight.
Right.
And again, I don't know what I'm doing. Fraser's looking at me going, man, he really knows what he's doing. So we just kind of sat back and said, take it away, Fred.
Yeah, I remember that. That
But-
was a good show.
I do remember the fights, and sometimes these guys would really hurt each other. So I was good for going, oh, he's down.
Yeah, he did that good.
I remained friends with that guy from New York City who was a scuba diving police officer unit.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote a movie called Harbor Nights. I can't think of his name. Byrne. Tommy Byrne. I don't know if you remember.
I do, and I would have never thought about him or that role that he played. But I remember when the TWA 800 flight went down in New York, just outside the ocean. They weren't sure if it was a missile hit, but it eroded in flight. And he was one of the first responders there. And I asked him, I said, what was it like going down to that carnage? He said, well, it's crystal clear blue water, but there's piles of rocks here, piles of rock here, piles of rocks, and we keep swimming and moving our way over there. And then there is the fuselage torn into 1,000 pieces. And it was pretty graphic story that he was sharing. But I was interested because that's the kind of thing that doesn't make it to the mainstream media.
That's really almost unbelievable that these guys, women, whoever, actually do that. Because I do remember Tommy Burns was telling me about real life harbor nights in New York City when they would go into the water to find bodies
Right.
from whatever it would be, from car accident, airplane accident, whatever it would be from. And I would say, oh, but isn't the harbor just dark and dingy? You can't see anything. And he said, yeah, you can't see anything. And I go, well, then how do you know that you have someone? And he said, you just stretch out your arms and grab.
Right.
You actually feel, oh, I think this is a person.
Right. Right.
What kind of a guy does that?
Well, somebody's got to do it. The
I
best
guess.
of the best are the ones that are doing
good
it.
luck to them. That's unbelievable. Because I know I wouldn't do it, and you're all coiffed, so you wouldn't do it. He's looking way too good. I knew I should have brought a shirt and tie. So that's how we met, and it was really cool that we got to do these type of projects because he's incredibly skilled at announcing the fight, interviewing people, and it didn't stop there.
Thanks.
Because I was always performing, and Fred would always come to a show, and whenever he was doing something, I made my way down to watch what he was doing too. I remember so many different shows that you came to, and if I can indulge, he came to this one show in Long Beach, and Fred's got some friends that have some cash, and his one friend has a yacht. He's like, Mike, when the show's over, you want to go for a ride? I'm
Yeah.
like, this is insane. And I'm like, he drove from a distance to go to Long Beach, where the show was at the Laugh Factory. And I remember you saying, no, we're just going to stay here for the night. And I was like, oh, would you get a hotel room? You're like, nah, we're going to stay on the boat.
Right. Right. That boat's going to be loaded this weekend because this is the Grand Prix of Long Beach, the actual
that's
Grand
right.
Prix of Long Beach.
The Grand
finale
Prix. Oh,
of Indy Racing is right here in our home in Long Beach. And so that boat is going to be. He just called me and said, I bought. Wait, he goes, hey, Fredito, what are you doing? And I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I just bought $2,000 of alcohol, worth of hard alcohol for this weekend's boat. And it's going to be a party boat. And it's going. He does that every year, except for last year.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
unbelievable. Okay, this Saturday night at 10 o'clock, I'm at the Laugh Factory in Long Beach. This is my first performance back in the Long Beach in over a year because of the pandemic.
Sure.
And now you're telling me this guy's got $2,000 worth of alcohol
It'll
on
be
a
flowing
on a
Friday,
yacht.
Saturday, and Sunday.
It's in walking distance of the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, you
right?
gotta go see him. Yeah,
Like across the
absolutely.
street.
Absolutely.
And I thought you were staying in that hotel that has the water and the swans and
Oh
the
yeah, the Hyatt,
rowboats.
Long Beach Hyatt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this weekend is the Grand Prix.
Yeah. His boat's a 9-iron away from the Laugh Factory.
Yes, a
Nice
9-iron.
red shot. Yeah.
He related it to golf. That's hilarious. Okay, so 2 things you could do this weekend.
Right.
I'm hoping I could do 3.
See him at
1,
10 o'clock.
Yes.
Go to the Long Beach Grand Prix.
2.
Friday it's free. Saturday it's the IMSA racing where all the Porsches, Lamborghinis.
Oh, is that right?
They race, and then Sunday is the Indy race, which Alex Palou is the leader right now in Indy points, and Scott Dixon's the defending champion, but he'd have to win to come close to that
Do you hear him?
result.
Here is the magic voice. Do you do anything on the racetrack?
No.
No?
I used to get a media credential and just go and shoot some fabulous pictures and some great video, but it's more work because I was doing it for free,
Yeah.
and I just rather be a fan this weekend.
Fred has an incredible, in my world, it's a stage presence. I think in his world, it's a TV presence. Would we say it that way? He is a TV personality, like on the news.
Well,
So tell everybody about how you got into it and where we can watch you or where we were watching you if things have changed. Because every time I hear his voice, I think I'm going to hear, and it's the Grand Prix, and here we are, brought to you by, that type of thing.
right.
Smooth.
Thanks. Well, we go back a long way, and I go back to the mid '90s when I went to order my grandparents' cable television because if you live in LA, back in the day, you had channel 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. And if you had that second knob on your television, you got UHF. You could watch the Three Stooges
Yeah.
and Speed Racer and all that. But I told my grandparents there's so many advantages with having, all these cable channels. And in LA, back in the day, before cable was mainstream, used to sit a box. It was called On Television, and a box would sit on your TV. You'd put it to an UHF channel, and it had a knob on it. It was either off or it was on.
Oh, yeah.
And you turn it on, and then boom, you could watch TV at night. But back in the '90s, you had all the amplified cable channels. So I went to order them cable channels, and there was a football game with no announcers. All you heard was ambient sound, and I said, "Who's doing these games?" "Well, you should check with the director. He's in the back." And it was a local Whittier game because that's where I was living, and it was a local high school. So I went and I said, "Who's doing your games?" He said, "Well, I'm looking for a guy." And I said, "I'm the guy. I can do that."
Oh, no kid.
And I had just started doing the PA announcing, which is totally different. Public address is 2nd and 7. Guy runs the play, 3rd and 2. Maybe you're supposed to ID the play.
Right.
But play-by-play is a different animal where you describe who's got the ball, where he's got the ball, how he got the ball. And you let the analyst paint the picture and why the play worked, but you call the play. Straight guy, that's what I do. So what was interesting is 3 weeks later, I was in a production class, and that fall of 1994, I was announcing the local high school games for free. And then I got a call from a guy that I knew who was an announcer for the Dodgers. He would fill in and do the sports report. KFWB News was checking in with Scott Galletti, 9 o'clock, boom. And he would give a description of what was going on with the game. So he was an announcer for the Bakersfield Fog.
Right.
And Keith Gretzky, Wayne's younger brother, was the head coach. And he said, "Hey, look, they're going to Alaska. I can't go." And this was in 1995, a year later. And I said, "Alaska, really?" And he goes, "So what do you want me to do?" And he said, "Well, can you call play-by-play for hockey? You'll have to do the game by yourself. It's 3 hours. It might be a challenge." But I said, "I've been to 3 LA Kings games. I don't know much about the game." He goes, "Well, look, I need to know by the end of the month." And that was October 1st. I called him back the next day and I said, "I'm in, done." He said, "Plane leaves December 1st. And all I did was go to the library and I watched Bob Miller announce the Kings. I recorded the games, took a lot of notes. And then December 1st, I was on my way to Alaska and I announced 6 games for the Bakersfield Fog during that stretch, that week stretch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that it just accumulated after that. And then the following season, apparently they told me that we are not going to have Scott Galletti can't come back. And the following year, I did 68 hockey games, and a third of those I did solo. What I do is I'd grab the guys on the injured reserve, and I'd bring them. I said, "You're going to sit in the booth with me, and you don't have to chime in if you don't want to, but I'll ask you a couple of questions. That way, you give me a little break, and you can give us some insight on what's taking place on the ice." So that worked out. And then when I was doing the radio hockey, coming back to TV football was really easy.
So you're doing the hockey. You don't really know a lot about, let's say, the players. What do? Start making shit up?
No.
And there he goes. He's down at the puck. It's a goal. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yeah, something like that. But no, what was interesting is when you travel with the team and you're their radio guy.
Oh, yeah?
You have all 3 square meals a day with them. You get to know them. You hang out. Everybody wanted to hang out at my hotel room because I traveled in style. I brought my Sega Genesis with the hockey game.
No kidding. You traveled in style.
When they were going up to eat rubber chickens at the top of the hotel roof, I would say, "Drop me off right here." "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go to that market." And when you're in Alaska, you can get Alaskan king crab for $1.99 a pound. I would just take that back to my room and chomp on it, and they'd go, "Why does it smell like fish in here?" I said, "Because I just ate like 5 pounds of crab meat."
Fred's got some incredible stories.
That's a true story right there. But anyway, so that just progressed, and I did a lot of local games for free. And then in 2004, I got an opportunity to work with KVMD TV, who were producing the fights that we were doing. And I started doing live television with Toy Cook, who was a retired NFL secondary man, a defensive back.
Right.
and that worked out well. And then I just kept knocking. Being in real estate now, this is my 36th year. I have been in since 1986, so I couldn't leave to go do a game for $100 a game because I had a great real estate business.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, if I'm going to make it anywhere, I'm going to make it here in LA. And in 2011, Fox Sports West, now Bally Sports West, came knocking, and I became a play-by-play guy for Fox Sports West.
So this is when it became the Megillah of how we all started seeing Fred Salas on television, and that's when I started working bigger clubs. So you see, when you're coming up the ladder and you start branching off from your friends, and you're both making it in different areas of the business, it becomes great. The only thing that sucks is you don't see your friends anymore because he's off doing his thing, you're off doing your thing, and then you start reading about it in the news. And we start seeing your face on television. I remember always seeing you dressed up, whether you had the thing on your ear and the piece, and then or the microphone in front of you. What is your favorite game to call? Baseball, football. Okay,
Football.
You're
Although,
quick on that one.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay.
you know, I do football, basketball, baseball, men's and women's volleyball. Um, let's see, hockey, professional boxing, and also in 2006 I became a ring. 2005, I got asked to do. There was a promoter here in Irvine, and he called me and said, "Hey, have you ever done any ring announcing?" And I said, "Are you kidding me? That seems like the simplest form of public address announcing." So yeah, no problem. And that launched a career as a ring announcer. And my biggest show to date was in 2015 at the Forum. Michael Buffer had the main event and the semi-main event, and I had the four undercard events. And it was in front of 10,000 people. And it was on 67 countries and on HBO Latino. And then, of course, when that show cuts off, it goes to the HBO mainstream, and they do the semi-main and the main event. But I'll never forget Michael Buffer going, "Hey, Freddie, man, you sound great." And I was like, "All right.
All right, now we got to
Praise from Caesar." Wow.
You met Michael Buffer.
Oh, yeah.
What's he like?
He's a nice guy.
Yeah?
And, you know, I've met him a few times when I used to go to the Laker games as a guest with Jerry Buss, who owned the Lakers back in the early 90s. And what was interesting is he always looked 20 years younger than
Right.
he does. But he's almost 80 years old now, and he still rocks. He still rocks. And I said, I want to be like that guy. You know, I want to be like that guy. And
When
he's
it-
a good guy.
When it comes to all these guys who call a fight, the guys who are in the ring, I don't think anybody saw the UFC becoming as big as it is, or the ring announcers like Joe Rogan, who's absolutely phenomenal.
He is.
And I'm spending all this time years ago at the Comedy Store with Joe Rogan. I didn't think anybody even thought of fighting, wrestling, or any of that, much less the UFC. We were just there to crack jokes.
Right.
Who knew this guy was as deadly as he was
Right.
and as skilled as he is, because he really knows what he's talking about.
He does.
And then the guy who actually announces the fight, it makes me wonder how much they get paid.
You mean the ring
Because-
announcer?
Right. Well,
Bruce Buffer, Michael's brother.
it's his brother.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, pretty certain, yeah. Bruce Buffer.
Well,
Yeah,
wasn't
they're
there
brothers.
wasn't there a time where the guy had to put a copyright on the words "Let's get ready to rumble"?
That Michael
like
Buffer.
he owns that.
Yeah, Michael Buffer did that.
And now the next guy who's in the UFC,
He says, it's
fighting.
time. No,
Yeah,
it's time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's his brother.
it's time. Yeah, yeah.
Get the hell out of here! I
Yeah.
didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But when he screams like that, to me, he makes the night.
You know what?
He gets me in such a great mood. It's time! Shut up, everybody! It's time!
Yeah, he does a good job, and you're not alone. Everybody thinks that.
Yes.
And that's why he's there, and that's why he's getting paid.
He
big
gets
bucks.
all dressed up. He has the card and he's fighting!
Yeah.
I think I just threw my back out just trying that.
Right. And yeah, it's interesting. I've announced over 300 MMA fights, MMA rounds, but I still have to hustle real estate. Because,
Oh.
you know, there's only so many spots in the NFL world. As a football announcer, there's only 16 games every weekend, and during the bye weeks there's 15. So that means there's only 16 announcers, all NFL caliber announcers.
Right.
So I'm on the until formula there. I'll keep banging it until I get there. You know.
Well, I know. I think that's the way it is for almost everybody in every part of the world, or more than in showbiz. More so in showbiz because, I'm a bang around comedian. I perform all around the country.
All around
People
the
say that.
world.
All around the world. Yep, we did Dubai, and I did do the USO stuff. But it makes you wonder what is next. How big is it gonna get? Is it gonna get any bigger? Should it be any bigger? Should it have been bigger? I got a movie coming out. I'm working on another project. My tour just started opening up again. But to me, I'm happy. This is great. We're doing this. We're getting along. We're doing what we do. We have money. If your ultimate goal was to be a ring announcer, that would to me be one of the most difficult things to do because how many shows are there?
Well, there's quite a few, and it can be very profitable depending on the level of shows that
Yeah.
you're doing, whether it's ESPN, some of the multiple sports networks that are out there globally that you can do, and of course the HBOs of the world and the Showtimes of the world. But I think right now Michael Buffer and Jimmy Lennon Jr. got the major shows booked. But again, it's not something. I'm not getting people on the phone every day to ask for a job in announcing.
Well, then you
It's
got to
just-
keep on going and you got to keep on grinding because you never know what's going to happen. When I started doing the podcast, this is my 202nd episode. I ended up getting a lot of sponsors and I'm having a lot of fun with it, and the sponsors are getting a lot of play. So, who saw that coming? Who knew that was even part of the stand up comedy world? But it is, and it's working, and we're having fun, and you're really good at what you do. So, if anybody was watching right now and wanted to tune in and see you, where could we see you do what you do?
Well, right now, my most recent outlet was Valley Sports, but they diminished the number of production trucks from 4 to 2. And this is for the high school game of the week. You know, the best high school, arguably the best high school football, is played in California, Texas, and Florida. And as California, we have what's called the Trinity League. We have Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Servite, J. Sarah, and the other schools that are involved. So right now, I'm not doing any football. Which I think next up on tap will be women's volleyball in November. And I just finished doing, one, two, three, I think I did 5 or 6 baseball games for what's called Perfect Game. And that is a baseball organization that takes all the best high school athletes. And half of the athletes that I covered will be in the first round of the Major League Draft.
Right.
And I did that last month. And it was terrific. It was good stuff. So I'm not, would you say, unemployed, but I told my wife Jessica, I said, you know what? I just got 18 weeks of my life in the fall back to me. And I got 18 Friday nights back in my life because I'm not doing the football. So how much more real estate can I sell during that time?
Well, there
frame?
you go. You might sell something like we were just talking about that's on television, and we're going to get to that. But do you have like a social media site that people could look at you and see where you're going and what you're doing?
Well, you can go to the YouTube channel just to see some of my work in the past. Every Sunday in the NFL, there's no less than 30 players that are playing for the NFL teams that they're playing for that I have called. Well, Mark Sanchez just retired, but there's Matt Barkley, Sam Darnold come to mind, Juju Smith-Schuster, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all the St. Brown brothers, Equinemius, all these guys. And then on Saturday, on college football, since so many of the top players come from Southern California, there's got to be at least 300 players that are on the field. The opening game this year that I watched, DJ Uiagalelei taking on JT Daniels. That's Clemson taking on Georgia. And both of those guys I've called multiple times, multiple games. And then the number one team in the nation right now is Alabama. And Bryce Young is their quarterback. He came out of Mater Dei High School. And I've called maybe 7 to 8 of his games. So I've got that in the archives somewhere. I don't go look at them. But,
Right.
So there's a lot of mainstream guys that I've had the pleasure of being able to ID and call them. Call their games and call their names. And in style, actually. It's good. It's good.
That's amazing. It's a lot of work. I'm sure it's a lot of fun, and I know I couldn't do it. I remember watching you, and you know what's funny? Now that you mentioned YouTube, I videotaped everything that we were doing back at that time. Of course, it's on VHS.
Oh, right, right, right.
So I'm going to have to maybe transfer that, put it on YouTube, and then you can watch us or him calling one of those fights, and me and Fraser Smith just sitting next to each other looking like knuckleheads.
Well, you hear it anyways.
But we had a
right?
lot of fun.
There's some good
And
fights.
I remember getting to meet all the fighters. And I wished I could get in a ring at that time, celebrity boxing. But with my luck, I'll get in a ring with somebody who's going to knock my block off. So I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
Fred mentions real estate quite often, and that's what he does for a living as well as the commentating. So we were watching television tonight, and I was talking to Fred about this $500 million house that we talked about on last week's show because it was on the news last week. And the guy is a developer, and he ran out of money, and that's why he has to sell it.
Right.
Where does a developer even get the idea, the notion, the money to say, I'm going to build a $500 million house and it's going to sell very quickly?
No.
Like, how does that even happen? Where does he get the money to start? I mean, there's a bowling alley in it, a gym.
Sure.
I mean, it's like a resort.
Right.
It's like a hotel.
Sure.
So how does that even start?
Well, it starts with the way you presented it. I'm going to build X. And it usually stems from ego. And of course, you have to have the money to be able to do it as well. So the ego combined with the money, sometimes that can be dangerous because you'll spend a lot of money to keep your ego going versus humility and not spending that kind of money.
Well, supposedly, like you're saying, he's not going to get the $500 million because he didn't finish.
Well, ego can be very expensive, and that's going to be a hard lesson for him. But the other one was, who else did they mention? Rihanna.
Oh yeah, we were watching tonight that Rihanna is selling her house in, I guess, Bel Air.
Bel Air, Beverly Hills, yeah,
Yeah,
$7.8 million.
$7.8 million.
And it's not selling. And why is that?
Why is it not selling?
Price. Everything is about price.
It's too much.
Everything is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the news commentator was saying, well, if it had more amenities or if it had this and maybe the other houses in the neighborhood are a little bit nicer, well, it's not all the amenities. It's not what that house has and this one doesn't. It all comes down to price. If you list it at a price that will cause it to sell, it will sell, period.
Maybe a celebrity thinks that they're going to get more money because of who they are and you got to buy that person's house.
In some cases, that's true.
Yes, but I was just wondering what it would be like if you called up and said, I'm interested in buying Rihanna's house, but I want to make sure she's there when I come to take a look at it. I want her to give me the tour. Let her tell me what's what. Why did you buy these drapes and shit like that?
See, and if
Now-
your agent called me and said you wanted to tour my listing and my listing was Rihanna's house, that wouldn't pass the whiff test.
No,
I need a
that's it.
verification of funds. I need to make sure you're pre-approved and you can afford to buy the house. Otherwise, I'm not going to disturb my client.
Is that how it goes? Yeah, I guess
absolutely.
you have to see if people are fooling around or lying.
Right.
But
right.
so Rihanna's house is going to 7.8, and then you said you knew about the Godfather's house.
Yeah, there was some French billionaire that bought it. I believe it was for $65 million, and it was the house that the Godfather, the headless horse scene was in. And,
The mansion, yeah.
the mansion, Beverly Hills mansion. It was also the house that played a role in The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner.
Oh, really?
Back in the early 90s, yeah. Just some exterior shots. You never know once they get inside if it's the genuine
Yeah, that
house,
too,
right?
because they could fake it in Hollywood. Fred and I have known each other a very, very long time. We played golf together many times. I've always had a charity for LAPD at the Braemar Country Club in Tarzana, and we called it for the Us Eyes Only Italian American Golf Tournament. It was put on by my godfather, John Yazzo, the big top wop, and we would do anything to raise money for LAPD, CHP, and whoever we were doing the tournaments for. And Fred always graciously came out. We had some fun. He's a great golfer.
Putting meatballs.
We
I remember
used to
that.
putt meatballs.
Yeah, frozen meatballs, yeah.
Well,
That was
when you
kinda
get them
fun.
at Costco.
Yeah.
Recently, and I'm going to let Fred tell you this story because I'm not a good ringside caller. I'm going to let Fred take this one from you. So I hope everybody is watching and listening to this, I'm going to say, heroic story that Fred is to so many, because I know I could never do this. No way. I just don't know how you do what you do. But there's a big golf tournament next Monday, September 27th. I'm happy to say I will be part of it. This is my second year being part of it. It's
Yes,
the
it
second
is.
year doing it.
No, third actually.
Third.
Yeah.
And I'm going to entertain when the golf tournament is over and make everybody laugh and make everybody enjoy. So why don't I let Fred tell you why we're having this golf tournament and what it's called.
Well, if you get a chance, go to lljgolf.com. lljgolf.com. It's Live Like Jack Foundation. And my wife and I started the foundation in 2019 because my wife and I had a beautiful boy in 2007. He was born on 9/11, 2007.
Is that right?
He was born on 9/11, 2007. And we raised him in earnest. We raised him, to be honest, we raised a superstar. And he was in the classroom. He was an A student, principal's list, honor roll, and he was also a pretty great athlete. I think one of the greatest joys that any father can experience is seeing their son score touchdowns. And albeit it was flag football with the local city in La Mirada, he scored a lot of them. So we're very proud of him and the son that we raised. On February 1st of 2018, our son succumbed to an asthma attack in our living room. And my wife and I, after we called 911, did everything in our power to save him. We tried to resuscitate him, mouth to mouth, pumped his chest, and we couldn't get him back. And this was February 1st, the morning of, it was about 11:30 in the morning. Well, the first responders got to our place, and they took him out, and they took him to St. Jude's in the city of Fullerton. And 32 minutes later, they got Jack's heart beating again, and they put him on a respirator and got him breathing again. I knew at that point, I knew he was gone, and that we would never see him. Like, he was smiling that morning and very happy. So that being said, that was February 1st. Now, in the state of California, you have to declare a person, a human being, deceased if they fail 2 neurological exams. So Jack didn't pass the first one on that was a Thursday morning. On Friday, and then that Saturday they conducted another neurological exam, and he didn't pass it. Meanwhile, while we're at the we got transferred from St. Jude on Thursday to Chalk, which is in Orange County, Children's Hospital of Orange County. We had hundreds of people coming through the ICU, and we gave Jack his last rites because he was declared deceased that afternoon, February 3rd. But it was that morning that my mother-in-law said to me and Jessica, maybe Jack should be an organ donor. And I looked at Jack laying in state in the bed with all the equipment on, and I said, you know what? I don't want him to be cut up. And I looked at Jessica and I looked back at Jack, and it took all of 20 seconds, and I said, that is the right thing to do. That is the right thing to do. That little boy can leave a legacy, and he can save lives. So the Super Bowl was the next day. It was the Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. He was pulling for the Patriots. I was pulling for the Eagles. That game is still paused on his Xbox One years later.
Right.
But that Monday evening, we wheeled him into the operating room, and I pressed the physician in charge. I wanted to know where his organs were going to go, and if they had any would-be recipients lined up to receive his organs. And I was really pushing, because normally they don't disclose any of that. And the physician in charge said, there's a young girl that is in need of his liver.
Oh, wow.
And that's the only one that we knew about. So that evening, when they harvested Jack's organs, Jack's liver flew out of John Wayne Airport in Orange County, and it flew to San Francisco. And early the next morning, I'm talking 2 a.m., this young girl, Tanya, her mother, got a phone call from One Legacy. Now, One Legacy is the major hub for organ distribution in the state of California, but they're also the largest organ hub in the world. And the list of would-be recipients is a mile long, but the list of organ donors is very small. And our mission with the Live Like Jack Foundation is to expand that and make everybody, by choice, an organ donor, because you can't take them with you. But this little girl, from age 3.5 to age 14, for 10.5 years, her mother took her from specialist to specialist to specialist. Help my daughter. Nobody could help her. And she suffered daily. And the mother too, because if you can imagine your child suffering on a daily basis and your hands are tied, you can't do much.
Right.
She suffered. Well, that day she received Jack's liver, and her life was changed forever. She just graduated from Glendale High School here in California. She was on the swim team, and she is amazing. And she will be our special guest, along with the president, Tom Moan, of One Legacy, at our golf tournament. And the interesting thing about the golf tournament, and I'm pretty certain that, well, not pretty certain, I'm pretty sure that we are the only ones that have ever done this. There's what's called the helicopter ball drop. And the helicopter ball drop, you're assigned it. You buy a helicopter ball drop. You buy a helicopter ball, and we put a number on it with your name next to it, right? You're assigned this numbered ball, and the helicopter flies over the hole, and it dumps the bucket of balls out over the hole. And if a ball goes in and it's got your number on it and your name's attached to it, you win money. So I had always played in a lot of celebrity and charity golf tournaments, but they always have the helicopter ball drop at the end, when golfers have been sloshing around for 18 holes and they're not really into it. You want to see that? No, I don't care. And they just go inside. Well, I decided last year during the pandemic, when we were limited to 72 golfers, we're going to do this on the front end, because not only are those blades, when they cut through that crisp morning air, it's going to be very stimulating. It's going to electrify the crowd. And I was right. So we had it on the front end, so everybody's paying attention, and 3 golf balls went in. I flew in the helicopter, and I dumped the balls over the hole, and 3 went in. So we awarded $1,000, divided by 3 because 3 balls went in.
All right.
And it worked out. And then we put together the opening ceremonies, where we open up with our pastor from St. Bruno's Church, who presided over Jack's funeral,
Right.
Dave Henney. He does the opening prayer. Then we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Then we have the national anthem, and then I read a very short abridgment of Jack's eulogy. Last year we had Pablo, who lives in Tulare, California, up north.
Right.
He received our son's left liver, and Pablo is a 34-year-old man with a family of his own, and we know that it saved his life.
He's going to be at the golf tournament too?
We're waiting for confirmation, but he
Right.
was our guest last year.
Right.
Now Tanya I'm going to introduce Tom Moan, and we're going to hand him a big jumbo check from the Live Like Jack Foundation for $10,000.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. The first year, I asked the RCS, the Red Cup Society, they're a nonprofit, friends of mine, Lou and Jared, how long does it take to put a good, solid golf tournament together, fundraising golf tournament? It takes about 6 months. I said, well, we have 3. And I want to pull this off. We're going to do it. And we did. And we gave One Legacy $3,000. We raised all this money, gave them $3,000. And we saved up enough on our end to hire an attorney to start our nonprofit. And that's how it worked. And last year, during the pandemic, we gave them a check for $7,500 with half the golfers during the pandemic, because they would only allow 72 golfers. So it worked out. And Pablo was our special guest. And this year, we were sold out 48 days in advance, which is almost unheard of for a charity event. And it's amazing.
That's fast.
The support that we have. And now Tanya, she will be our special guest, and she's writing a nice little speech that she's going to do, and she's going to move that crowd. It's going to be amazing.
I can't believe these people are going to be there, and they're alive, and they have a piece of your son. Is there anybody else?
Oh, yeah. We have, there's 2 men. There's a 54-year-old father of 4 that has our son's right kidney. There's Pablo, father of 1 that has...
How do you keep track? How do you know? Who called you
Well,
to
there's
tell
a
you?
6-month window that there is no communication, because our worst day when we lost Jack was Tanya's best day.
Right.
And Pablo's best day. And Lizzie's
Right.
best day. So the standard protocol is to give it time to breathe. And on that 181st day, 6 months later, I wrote out a letter to all the recipients in general because I didn't know who they were, and then one legacy, they channel it to all the right recipients.
So these people contact you
Well,
to
yeah,
say,
we
hey,
had Zoom meetings. We That's how we met Tanya. We had her over for dinner, and I asked her. I said, what's the biggest change in your life with Jack's liver now?" And she said, "I get to be normal. Throughout high school, I got to be normal, which I had never experienced before."
right.
And then for Pablo, he's alive. And with Tanya, there's two lives saved because her mother got her life back because
Yeah.
she was suffering as
Yeah.
well. And then we met Lizzie on a Zoom meeting. Now, Lizzie lives in Wisconsin, and she got Jack's upper heart valve, which she's had three. She's Jack's age. She's 13 going on 14. She has had 3 open heart surgeries. The first 2 were for the artificial valve. The last one was with Jack's valve, and they're hoping that continues to grow with her, so she'll never have to have an open heart surgery again. And
That's
she's
just
healthy.
unbelievable, and hats off to you to be as strong of a man to go through that, because I'm sure a lot of people just listening alone wonder where you could find the strength to carry on.
You want to know the
You're
strength?
losing such a kid at a young age.
You know what? There's not a day that goes by that we don't think about him.
Right.
And the reality of his absence is unbearable at times. But we have a very strong faith in God. And
Right.
I believe it wasn't my plan to lose my son. It was God's plan to pluck him from us at 10 years of age. And then for us to carry his legacy on and help as many people as possible. Because all of us can help people. But for Jessica and me, and Jessica is the strongest woman I know. I thought my mother used to be, because I lost a brother on New Year's Day in 1991. So my mother lost a son. And I never thought I'd have that common denominator in with my parents, that we would both suffer the loss of a child. But that came to become a reality. So it's very important that we compartmentalize the pain so we can function at a level that's required of us so we can do the work we're doing. And the foundation, I mean, we helped a lot of foster children. Last year, at the end of the year, towards Thanksgiving, we bought Christmas presents at Christmas time for foster children with the foundation, because we had some generous donations right after the tournament. 2 different players that were involved in the tournament gave us $10,000, 5 each, and we put that money to good work. And we also helped 3 mothers that had lost children during Christmas time, just with simple $500 endowments to them, personal checks or checks from the foundation we wrote, just because we know from experience that even no matter what the trauma is, losing a child or a sister, a brother, a parent, no matter what it is, the bills keep coming in. And this was the 3rd time that in 2018 that I lost everything, all our assets, all our equities, the cash on hand, everything. And with the right attitude and knowing that we're doing good work, I was able to build it back, and we're getting it all back. We're still on the path of growth and doing the things that we were doing prior to losing Jack. But we're dialed in, and we're focused on what we need to do and who we want to help.
Well,
so it's good stuff.
This is by far one of the most intense podcasts I've brought to the air. I knew this was going to happen. I'm well adverse to what's going on in Fred's life, and that's why we're doing the charity. But we had to talk about it, and we have to put it out there. We could take in some questions for Fred right now. Something happened with the feed up there. They're saying they can't hear us, but we're live right now. So Fred, tell us all about the golf tournament. You can't come; it's sold out.
Well, you can come if you're here in LA. We have the opening ceremonies have become so big. We have 144 golfers. We have 30 people that are either sponsor donors and or not organ donors, but donors and special guests. So we have 174 that are going to be at the tournament. But for the opening ceremonies, we are expecting in excess of another 150 people that'll be there just to see the helicopter fly in, to do the ball drop.
So it's
and
a
of
party.
course the special guests, and of course the the abridgment of Jack's eulogy, which was the most difficult thing for me to write immediately following that loss. And what's interesting too, as a man of Catholic faith, this was February 1st. It was on a Thursday. 2 weeks later was Valentine's Day, and the service was on February 15th. But Valentine's Day in 2018 was Ash Wednesday.
Right.
And we chose to have Jack's body cremated as opposed to burial, because in the event that we just got up and moved somewhere, we wanted to take him with us.
Right.
So we would always have him, close by. So we did that. But his ashes were delivered the night that we were at the banquet room preparing it for the service the next day, the reception service. And that particular February 14th, 2018 was Ash Wednesday.
Right.
And we got ashes delivered on Ash Wednesday, and they were Jack's ashes. So it was a unique scenario. There were so many blessings. I mentioned to you the hundreds of people that came through at February 5th, February 1st to February 5th in 2018 through the ICU, which is unheard of. But the St. Bruno's Parish is a nice-sized parish, a big church in Whittier. There were people that couldn't even get in because it was so packed. And that's a testament. That's a testament to who Jack was and how he was, and how many people cared about him. And right now with the fundraiser, the only thing we can do right now, since the tournament's sold out, is we're looking to sell golf balls, as many as possible.
Well, it just so happens that people are asking that question right now. So let's do this. Here comes some questions for Fred. It seems there's a little bit of problem on Instagram, but right now, Gina Marie, who is in Long Island, New York, wants to know, is there a place to make a donation to Live Like Jack?
Yeah, well, Gina, what we'd love you to do is go to lljgolf.com and buy a golf ball. It's $25, and if you don't win, it becomes a donation for the foundation. But if you do win, you got a chance to win up to $1,500, which is this year's prize. And if 3 golf balls go in, then you divide that $1,500 by 3, and it'd be a $500 prize. But it's a great way to donate to us, but it also gives you a chance for the give back to win some money. So thank you.
It's a great thing. So if anybody out there wants to make a donation to Live Like Jack, what's the actual handle? You buy a golf ball, and where can they do it even after the golf tournament?
Well, they can continue. Well, right after the tournament, we are going to set up, we'll revamp the page, so it might take a couple of days, but then we'll have a donate button there. But right now the focus was to, number 1, sell out the golf tournament, and then number 2, have people get on board as sponsorships. And then number 3, sell as many golf balls as possible. Last year we had 202 golf balls. The goal was to have 2 buckets this year. And I'm also training to become a helicopter pilot right now. So I'm in my
Might as well do everything.
my 11th month of training, and I fly this Thursday, and I fly to John Wayne Airport. My office is in Irvine, California, and I'll be in the helicopter. And hopefully the goal is to become a pilot that one day I can actually volunteer my time and effort and fly for One Legacy and deliver an organ from A to B. Of course, that takes a lot of hours and a lot of work, but
Can you
I
tell
got
everybody
time.
the website again, because we're getting asked by people. Who are actually...
LLJ Golf.
LLJ Golf.
That's livelikejackgolf.com.
livelikejackgolf.com. You can look it up on the internet.
LLJgolf.com.
Make a donation, buy a golf ball, see what's going on in Fred's life. And if you're here in Los Angeles or maybe in the whole of California, you're looking to buy a house, you're looking to sell a house.
Thanks.
He really is a real estate agent. So how could everybody find you on that?
You can
note?
Google Fred Salas, and the first thing that'll pop up is real estate websites and my phone number. And guess what happens when this thing rings? I pick it up.
Yeah.
I just before we came on the air, I've got a little house in Hawthorne. It's selling for $1 million. And one of the agents called me, how do we get this offer accepted? I said, the fact that you pick up the phone, my client's going to lean in your direction. I'm certainly going to lean in your direction. All things being equal, the fact that you pick up the phone, because I can get more done in 30 seconds on a telephone call or 60 seconds with a client than I can waiting for, well, I sent the text. I'm waiting for it to come back. I don't know. Did you get my email? No. And it blows me away when it says for a quicker response. For a quicker response, there it is, yeah. For a quicker response, send me a text. I thought a quicker response would be, hello, Yeah, hey, we're coming by. All right, sounds good. I'll see you soon. That's quick, right?
Well, I think it's great that you guys can all get in touch with Fred if you are looking for some real estate. Maybe you want to rent an apartment, or maybe you want to kick somebody out of your apartment. Call Fred Salas and look him up on the internet. Thank you, everybody who's writing in right now about the fundraiser, and you can make some donations. And thank you, David Otta, for promoting the Live Like Jack Foundation right there.
He's our
on the
executive vice
feed.
president. Yes.
Oh, is that it?
He is.
Oh, okay.
He
Well, thank you
is.
so much for doing that. I thought it was somebody who just happened to be watching this show. And Ann Sharpstein has a podcast out in, I believe, North Carolina. So, Ann, thank you so much for forwarding the information. Maybe you could mention this on your show out there in the Carolinas about what's going on with Live Like Jack. We want to do a nice quick shout out because we didn't start eating yet on this show because we had such a different subject matter. So why don't you go ahead and put that plate right here in front of us. And Fred, what nationality are you?
I'm Mexican American.
He's a Mexican Spanish.
Three
right?
generations here in LA.
Well, as you all know, I went down to my favorite Italian place here in Los Angeles, Foggia Italian Market and Deli, and our little gift here was provided by them. So Foggia Italian Market and Deli, folks, they're in Lakewood, California, not too far from Long Beach. So if you're going down to the Grand Prix this weekend, or if you're coming to see me and Fred, because we're probably going to be together because I'm going on that boat. They got $2,000 worth of alcohol. And you want to go to 5522 Del Amo Boulevard, Lakewood, California. Say hello to my friends Bob and Linda. 562-627-0987. We have a nice little antipuesto.
It's
Or
the
we
bomb.
would say on it's the
the
bomb.
bomb.
We
It
have
is.
some cheese, we got pepperoni, we have my sweet little cherries with the inside filled with some great cheese, and of course some stuffed mushrooms. So we're gonna eat, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna joke, we're gonna talk all about the golf tournament that's coming up on Monday. We're gonna be down at the Grand Prix this weekend in Long Beach, California. I will be at the Laugh Factory at 10 o'clock, Long Beach, California. Remember, let's make America Italian again. You don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, you don't say nothing. We had a great time. Very different podcast tonight, but I'm glad that we did this one because it has a nice, sincere, somewhat of a joyful ending. I wouldn't say happy ending, a joyful ending.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
we're going to have a lot of fun at the golf tournament. I'm going to be there. Remember, if you want to make a donation, you can. Buy some golf balls. Tell them I sent you, all right? Anything else you want to tell everybody?
No, just we launched a Live Like Jack Foundation page on Facebook. We'll have one on Instagram up and running in 24 hours. And and the opening ceremonies will be streamed live on the Live Like Jack Foundation Facebook page.
Oh, fantastic.
And you can see that 45 minutes, starting with a helicopter, concluding with Tanya's speech. And it's going to be pretty special. So
I'll
hopefully you can
say,
tune in.
I don't know how you handle it. I don't know how you handle it.
Faith,
All right, but
faith.
he's got faith. We're going to have to get some faith. Let's get going. I end everyone's. Oh, let's thank our producer, Tatiana Bluchel, for always making this show work on a Tuesday night, whether it's 5 o'clock here in California or 8 o'clock on the East Coast. Keep on watching live from my mother's basement. Thank you so
having me,
much.
man.
And we always end the same broadcast. And no, stop making fun of my sign. People make fun of my. I lost my sign, so I drew one with a crayon. We always say the same thing. Don't take no shit from nobody. You ready?
Yeah.
Don't take no shit from nobody. Bye, everybody. Hey, folks, I hope you're enjoying watching my podcast live from my mother's basement. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm going to have a lot of great guests on the show in the future. So if you like it, hit like. You could also leave a comment. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch other funny videos. And you could also listen to my podcast on your favorite podcast app like Spotify and iTunes.